The commemorative services that take place across the country, whether it be Battle of Britain, Battle of the Atlantic, Remembrance Day services, are so important for our citizens to come out and pay their respects to the incredible sacrifices made by great Canadians, our veterans, our serving men and women in uniform, their families. These commemorative services are a tangible demonstration of that support, of that love and respect that Canadians feel for the sacrifices our veterans have made. It's so important that we see our citizens there in numbers, our school children. Everyone should attend these services on these important occasions to show that support directly for the incredible contributions that these great men and women have made to our country. Their service today, as in the past, is something that we simply rely on for our peace, our democracy, and freedoms. All that we enjoy today is directly attributable to those sacrifices.
The word came out that 13 aircraft went on this little trip. 3 of us came back.
And on the way down, the skipper said, "Fire down the guns, fire down, light the beams of the guns." So the 2 gunners turned their guns down, fired down the guns, and the guns went off. We were very busy. We did 3 trips in 36 hours once.
It really didn't matter where you came from or who you were. It was war, and as the skies filled with German aircraft, it became apparent to those living in Great Britain that they would have to stand their ground and fight. Bringing together thousands of volunteers from across England and the Commonwealth, it was the beginning of Bomber Command.
And he said, because another aircraft 100 feet above us, the bomb doors open. Now, our bomb member is saying, steady, steady, steady. Guess what the other guy is saying? So anyway, just at the last second, you managed to ease over a little bit, and the bomb member let out a great howl. 6 tons of bombs went between our wing and the tail of the aircraft like this. And he said, that cost him 10 years of his life.
One of the engines caught fire and smoke came into the aircraft, and he said, well, this is the time to get out of this damn thing. So we got up to open the hatch to bail out, and I looked down and we were 50 feet above the ground, so that was not an option.
This special Internet fusion project is designed to tell the story of Bomber Command, the missions, the aircraft, the air and ground crews, and it features dozens of classic interviews from the war. This documentary will take you on a journey from England to Belgium, then to Canada, and finally back to London for the unveiling of the magnificent Bomber Command Memorial in Green Park. This documentary and innovative website combines the Bomber Command Museum of Canada from Nanton, Alberta, the aircraft recoveries of Halifax 57 Rescue Canada, and 25 years of work from Dunrobincastle.com, capturing the stories and memories of our dedicated veterans. The project is not only dedicated to honor our veterans, but is designed to encourage our young people to learn more about our heritage. It invites the sons, daughters, and grandchildren of these veterans to explore their grandparents' experiences. It is designed to build an educational record for Canada, our history, and the intriguing world of aviation. The story begins with a journey by 42 Canadian veterans from Bomber Command. 3 incredible days in London. With the support of Veterans Affairs Canada, these former airmen were invited to attend the unveiling of the Bomber Command Memorial. After 67 years of silence, the honor was bestowed to these men who fought side by side, risking their lives for freedom.
Well, I've been looking forward to this for a long time, and I think it's about time the Bomber Command got it.
We're going to see the monument, and it's about time that they did something for Bomber Command. There would not have been D-Day if we didn't have Bomber Command.
With their midnight arrival in London, the next day brought an emotional experience as the veterans visited the Runnymede War Memorial near Windsor Castle.
I feel very privileged to be amongst you today to say thank you on behalf of Prime Minister Stephen Harper, of the Government of Canada, and of all Canadians. Thank you. Merci. Merci à nos vétérans du Bomber Command. 55 000 Canadiens qui ont volé au-dessus de la forteresse du Troisième Reich, qui sont allés au cœur de l'Allemagne nazie pour défendre la liberté, pour défendre la démocratie. That's what you did. You fought for democracy. You fought for our freedom. And we are here today to say thank you. Thank you for what you did. But we are also here for say that we remember those who never returned. And that's why we are here in this Runnymede Memorial, because there are 20,000 airmen who never returned from their dangerous, perilous mission.
Rob, we're here at the beautiful Runnymede Memorial where the airmen with no known grave, their names are all listed here. Many Royal Canadian Air Force airmen, as well as the entire of the Royal Air Force. And beautiful day, exciting day. It gives you a sense of the importance of what we're doing. And how do you feel about being here and being able to be part of the ultimate Bomber Command Memorial?
I think it's beyond words, Carl. For us at the Bomber Command Museum of Canada, our whole focus is on remembering people. And whether they have a known grave or whether they don't have a known grave, whether they returned home or whether they didn't, it's so important to keep it up in front. History is forgotten as time goes by, and I really feel it's our job and responsibility to remember. And so the commemorative monument in London down in Green Park, it's so huge and so demanding that it will be very hard for people to forget.
Okay, here I am with Don Elliott, and Don, you're one of the senior members of our Bomber Command Veterans Group,
Nice.
And isn't this a great day with more great days to come?
Well, yes, I'm the oldest, I'm told, of the veterans that's here. I'm lucky to be here, and anything that I get beyond what I already have had will be a bonus.
In the summer of 1945, as the war was coming to a close, a decision was made to disregard many of the great aircraft of Bomber Command. One such aircraft was the 4-engine Halifax bomber. Over the years, they dwindled in number, until one day we looked around and discovered they were gone. Not one Halifax had been saved for a museum or for our future generations. 50 years later, in 1995, 2 enormous aircraft recovery projects were planned. As part of the story of Bomber Command, the recovery of a Halifax bomber from World War II to honor Canadian and Allied veterans became an obsession for senior Air Canada pilot Carl Kasgaard. After locating a rare bomber at the bottom of Lake Mjosa in Norway, Carl acted as project manager and worked together with the Halifax Aircraft Association to lift, recover, and rebuild a Halifax for the RCAF Museum in Trenton, Ontario.
Down here, hardly any corrosion at all. So you can see where it's been in the mud. See, it's down in the mud? That's good. Good preservation down there. See, look at this. Look at this fitting.
Whoa, there's no corrosion at all.
There's no corrosion on that. Those screws are like brand new.
So oxygen available.
Yeah, see the mud where there's no oxygen? The mud has preserved it.
The successful world record recovery from Norway led Carl in 1997 to attempt a second aircraft salvage operation, this time in Harrodsburg, Belgium. A unique team was formed, including Scott Knox, who covered the recovery operation on the internet.
Just verified the internet connection with Ottawa, and everything is there. The site is available to us, and now I'm going to check to make sure that our connection to Belgium is going to work, and this is just a test, but it seems to be working just fine.
The story of Halifax 682 began and on an early Saturday morning with the help of Baja, a Belgian aviation group. A bog located in the Belgian Forest was drained and the heavy machinery moved in. Carl had been told the aircraft had been on a special mission and was shot down and crash-landed in the forest. Over the years, it had remained underwater. Within an hour of digging, parts of the plane were being lifted from as deep as 18 feet down. There was hope that the plane had landed intact, but as the recovery continued, it was apparent that it had hit like a stone. All on board, 8 valiant men in total, had died.
Jay, we got some stuff that's just come out of the ground. What do we got there?
We've got the identification numbers of this Halifax, LW682. And
Wow.
If ever there was any doubt as to what Halifax this was, I think this puts it to rest forever.
Now, this particular airplane has been supposedly reported missing twice.
Yep, 3 times actually. It was with 432 Squadron and was lost to Dusseldorf, but that turned out to be an administrative error. Then it was lost in the big Nuremberg raid, and that was another administrative error. And then it was lost with my uncle and the other buddies in May of '44. So yeah, it's had a somewhat checkered past, that's for sure. So,
wow. Well, there we are. It's verified, huh?
Verified, yeah. we know what we're dealing with. That's
Some parts of the aircraft were intact and were kept in Belgium. Other components were sent to the Trenton Museum to be included in the rebuilding of Halifax NA337.
Okay, there you go. There is your 50 caliber mid-under gun. And man, I'll tell you, it's a heavy piece, but it's a real find. It's a real treasure. You can see the mounting mechanism here, but I'm just looking. I'm looking in the breech, and I can see the butt end of a 50 caliber shell here, right in the breech. So they were loaded for bear, and this is really something unusual to see this. I've read about it in all the history books, but I've never seen a mid-under gun installation before. And you can see it's quite a big installation, and the 50 caliber packed a really good wallop.
The remainder of Halifax LW682 was melted down into aluminium ingots and sent overseas, where they would be stored for a number of years at the Bomber Command Museum of Canada, located in Nanton, Alberta. In respect for the 6 Canadians and 1 Allied airman who were lost in the crash, a full honor burial took place in Belgium. For many, including family members and relatives, it was a moment that could not be forgotten. Every day, as we live our lives, we sometimes take for granted the freedom that we enjoy. Freedom that, in 1940, was something worth fighting for. It was a time of war, a time of human suffering and mass destruction. Men and women from every corner of Canada came to support those in Europe who were suffering under the constant barrage of Nazi domination.
But during the war, I was 17 and 18, and it was a continual bombing. We got so used to it that we never knew that we were going to ever sleep in our beds. We just went to work, and as it got dark or dusk, we would head to either the basement, which was our cellar, and to the air raid shelters. And we had a little bag with us that had the gas mask, our identity, and maybe a bank book and a change of underwear. That was it. The house would be bombed, and it was a continual. We saw dog fights, but the Spitfire coming over gave us all inspiration. We never thought that we would ever lose, because Churchill made it possible that we could do it. And the sound of the Spitfire, and even watching the dog fights, gave us the inspiration, yeah, we're British and we can do it. There was one occasion that I remember, there was a bombing in London, and it was very severe. The whole road went down, and it was rubble. And there was a woman looking at her place that was her home, and she was starting to clear the rubble. And someone said, "What are you looking for?" And she said, "It's my daughter's birthday, and I promised her a birthday party today, and this was her living room." She had nothing, but she was clearing the rubble, and out of her inspiration, tables arrived. They cleared the rubble, food arrived, and that girl had a birthday in the middle of all this rubble, and that'll never, nothing will ever change that. That was something very inspirational, that out of nothing, that girl had a birthday party.
So the heck with that Adolf Hitler, we're having a birthday party.
Absolutely. Nothing will ever, I think, meet that. For the courage of that woman to say her daughter was going to have a birthday, and she had one.
As the years passed, Carl held on to the ingots of Halifax 682. It was then that he heard the whispers of an idea. Robin Gibb of the 1970s band, the Bee Gees, had met with a group of gentlemen and veterans in London to discuss the concept of building a monument. It was then that the idea of using the ingots to be part of this new monument came to light. Traveling to London in the early stages paid off for Carl Kasgaard as he negotiated a unique Canadian contribution on behalf of our veterans. The ingots, melted down from Halifax LW 682 in Belgium, would become part of the London Memorial. The ceiling of the main chamber overlooking the statue of the 7 airmen would now become a permanent reminder of the many lives that were lost, 55,000 in total, from Bomber Command. Even before we boarded the plane in Ottawa with the 42 veterans, our team had traveled to London in March to watch the final assembly of this magnificent monument. There we met the people who had worked tirelessly on the memorial structure. It would be the largest and most prestigious monument made in London in the last 200 years. It was truly a sight to behold. To these people, it wasn't just another job. This time, it came from the heart.
Hi there, my name is Jim Dooley. I'm chairman of the fundraising of the Bomber Command Memorial Fund. I've been in that position more or less since day one, which is exactly 4 years ago today, when we all met at RAF Hendon, myself and Robin Gibb, Sir Michael Beetham, Tony Iveson, Doug Radcliffe, and a whole team of guys with a view to starting a campaign to raise the money for the Bomber Command Memorial. I'm very, very proud and privileged to be standing right now in front of the RAF Bomber Command Memorial, a monument to 55,500 young volunteers who paid the ultimate sacrifice in freeing Europe between 1939 and 1945 from enemy tyranny.
So Douglas Radcliffe of 425 Alouette Squadron, here we are on a beautiful spring day in London, and we're seated right next to the magnificent Bomber Command Memorial that's being built as we speak. Tell us about the amazing things that have happened since you started.
Well, it came from all walks of life. Ordinary people, mostly. I mean, the first year, Vivian Hammer, the registrar, opened some 80,000 letters, all contributing. And we were backed by stars of stage, screen and radio from the Heritage Foundation. We were backed by industry. but mostly from ordinary people, from the Commonwealth everywhere. And we banked the first million in that year, coming in from everybody. And on my desk, I've got a 2p coin stuck onto a little gift aid voucher, where a little girl, her father had already donated a considerable sum, but she had to get in on the act and sent 2p, and I've got that on my desk today. Always reminds me of how other people feel about it.
This memorial is erected on behalf of the 55,573 young volunteers who paid the ultimate sacrifice between 1939 and 1945, serving the RAF on bombing missions in Europe. And included in that total of 55,500 is over 10,000 young Canadians. And Canada played a significant part in helping Britain and the Allies to secure the ultimate victory.
I am Liam O'Connor. I'm the architect and designer for the Bomber Command Memorial. Today we're having a little look at construction progress on the site with just under 15 weeks to the completion in mid-June, and looking at the structural stonework underway, the innovative stone entablature details over the Doric porticos to the loggia, which defines the central main mass of the memorial.
How much work is involved in something like this?
We've excavated about 1,000 tons of Portland stone, real Portland stone that is, from the Isle of Portland in Dorset, just off the south of England. We've got an extraordinary consistent quality of material to use, which is very lucky because not every project gets that. And we have probably one of the best stonework manufacturing firms I've ever worked with, applying a level of dedication and skill and high tolerance work that I haven't seen on any modern stone structures, certainly in my career.
Yes, this here's all Portland stone. A lot of London is Portland stone. Probably this is why they went for Portland stone in this job here as well. It ties in with the rest of all the buildings, and it's over in Portland Island. And
are you proud to be here right now?
Absolutely proud to be part of the Bombers Memorial. Indeed, really proud. So many young men give their lives that we could have the freedom we have today. And I think it's a very worthwhile memorial. Long time coming, but it's a great achievement that is here.
There's an immense feeling of pride for me, my team and my office, the structural engineers and the rest of the professional team that have been involved in making this happen. And it is a big team. And it's such an unusual project to be doing in such a prestigious location at the beginning of the 21st century. One of the central concepts of the memorial was that we had a figure group on a plinth in the centre of the memorial. That sculpture group really dictates in many ways the proportions and dimensions of the internal central space of the memorial. The 7 aircrew figures gathered together, huddled together on a porphyry plinth in cast bronze at 9 foot high will probably be one of the most remarkable modern sculptures in the public realm in London in many decades. And I think arriving from Piccadilly through the loggia, not quite understanding what's about to hit you, I think the impression visitors will get when they arrive is one of awe. And that's what we hope will be achieved. And once you're inside the memorial, you don't see the faces of the figures. You have to engage with the memorial, move around it, and move to the south side of it before you see the expressions on their faces and understand who they are and feel the full emotional power of that extraordinary set piece.
For all of our audience, I need to state the fact that on average, only 1 in 4 airmen of Bomber Command finish their tour.
You know, that's so. That's the terrible statistic. But at last, they're being honoured.
What do you think the Bomber Command Memorial will mean to generations that will be growing up after we're gone?
Well, Carl, I can't talk for 50 or 100 years ahead, but even now, with the press and what is happening throughout the Commonwealth, there's an attachment and it's growing, and people are suddenly become aware who weren't aware before of these great losses. They were not aware, or indeed of all the other losses that took place during World War II. They will remember that and never ever forget it.
I would say there was a lot of relief. I think everybody was thrilled that it was over, for sure. I mean, anybody that wasn't, there was something wrong. That doesn't mean that if the war had continued, they still would have flown. And of course, the chaps volunteered to go over on Tiger Force in the war in Japan after that. So they were glad it was over, because nobody likes a bunch of guys being killed, army or enemy or anybody. War's a hell of a thing.
How do you feel about the monument being built in London and in regards to, in memory of the fellows that didn't come back? How do you feel about that?
I think it's a tremendous monument. I've seen pictures of it before I came here. Somebody, friends in Britain, sent me a copy. And I've seen actual crews stand around like those people are standing around on that monument. You know, I tried to pick, I haven't got one close enough to see the navigator, but I'm sure he's the one carrying a parachute and a bag of maps kind of thing. He was the one that was loaded down. But they look real. It looks like a real crew to me. And I often think of it as being similar to our war memorial here in Ottawa, with those guys coming through that arch. I think that's very real, and I think our monument, our Bomber Command monument, is equal to that.
What do you think of this this Bomber Command Memorial that they're building?
I think it's great. I spent some time in London before I came home after I did an instructing, and I think it's just great. I know the area where they're building it. I think it's been a long time coming, but it's a great thing that's happening. And I think, unfortunately, the people that didn't come back, it's a tribute to them. I had 2 or 3 good friends from my hometown that didn't come back, and other places, other people I knew and didn't come back. So it's a tribute to them. People say, how'd you get? I said, I guess was lucky. I came back, finished my tour, went to instruct, and then came home. So I consider myself very fortunate.
Well, the memorial, I think it's very late in coming. I don't think the media has treated Canadian Air Force very well. We had a disgraceful program put on by the CBC called The Valor and the Horror about Bomber Command, and so far as they were concerned, we were a pariah. And I'm so pleased that this has come about. So many guys killed. I had a brother killed. I had neighbors killed and schoolmates killed. And as I think most chaps who were in the Air Force had the same thing. At least they had comrades who they knew went down, and I'm so pleased that there's going to be a memorial to them. Thank you.
So do you feel any sense of pride about the fact that they've finally recognized you?
Oh, I feel a tremendous amount of pride. There's only one regret I think I have. There's nothing crediting the ground crews. You know, I think those people who serviced our airplanes, and there was about 4-member ground crew assigned to every airplane. And in the winter months when it was raining and freezing and cold, and they were working out on those airplanes, and sometimes they'd have to, particularly during the invasion, they might have it all bombed up for a particular thing, had to unbomb it, put different bombs on after the invasion. They worked in all kinds of weather, and I think we should have room for them. And I think there should be at least one ground crew member amongst it, a crew consisted of the air crew and the ground crew. Not only the ground crew, but everybody. You know, the people who drove us out to the airplane and the buses or trucks or however we got out there, you know, they all deserve a tremendous amount of credit.
The day of the event, we traveled by bus, slowly winding our way across the Thames, past the great gates of Buckingham Palace, and along the road that led to the monument in Green Park. Veterans from all the Allied countries were there, and as we watched, the statue of the 7 airmen was carefully cloaked in its covering. All eyes faced forward in anticipation. Here we were, moments away from seeing the years of work unveiled, seeing with our own eyes the ceiling of the monument. This ceiling made from a Canadian Halifax aircraft, Halifax LW682, a 426 Squadron. It was Canada's contribution, and we were proud of it.
In 1940, the Commander-in-Chief put Churchill's endorsed strategic plan into action to cripple the Nazi war machine. And it is just 70 years ago that the first of the 1,000 bomber raids, using every aircraft that could be mustered, took the fight to the enemy. As Winston Churchill famously recounted, the gratitude of every home in our island, in our empire, and indeed throughout the world, goes out to the British airmen, who, undaunted by odds, unwearied in their constant challenge and mortal danger, are turning the tide of the world war by their prowess and their devotion. He went on to say that we must never forget that all the time, night after night, month after month, our bomber squadrons travel far into Germany, find their targets in the darkness by the highest navigational skill, aim their attacks, often under the heaviest fire, often with serious loss, but with deliberate discrimination inflict shattering blows upon the whole technical and war-making structure of Nazi power. Of the 55,573 Bomber Command airmen who died, many were displaced from their homelands in Europe, 10,000 from Canada, 4,000 from Australia, and nearly 2,000 from New Zealand. It is a great honour, therefore, to see so many veterans from the Commonwealth and elsewhere here today, representing their brave comrades.
The next day we were going home, back to Canada after an incredible 4-day adventure. The memories were embedded in our minds, but in our hearts, we needed to see the monument one more time.
Okay, Laurie, this has been quite an adventure. Remember, we started out over a year ago, and we said we've got to tell Canada about this super memorial and what it means, not only to all of Bomber Command, but to Canadians. And because you busted your buns, excuse my metaphors, you helped us so much. And I thought about you and what your background and what you've done and how valuable you are in government and useful in all ways to Canadians. I just wanted to give you a little token of appreciation. So what I did was the other ingots of the Halifax that we have at Nanton, Alberta, I cut off a wafer of a RCAF Halifax. I cut off a wafer from the ingots, and I wanted you to have it for your office.
Oh, that's spectacular!
And you could maybe put it close to your Halifax.
I'll put it in the. I'll get it mounted in the print.
But she's the real McCoy.
That is spectacular.
This is one of the ingots that's in the roof of the Ultimate Bomber Command Memorial.
Perfect.
It's a small memento of how highly regarded you are.
Well, Carl, I am touched, truly touched. I thank you so much for that. This is a labor of love for you, I know, and for me too. But this is spectacular. I really, really do appreciate this. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Absolutely.
Okay.
This is awesome.
Thanks, Carl.
That's absolutely awesome.
I think it's important. I do indeed, yeah. I think your video should be available in schools, and anywhere where young people gather. Youth places, you know, youth. What do they do with youth? Youth hostels, schools, churches, everywhere.
Well, I've had the honor for the last 3 days of traveling with 42 veterans of the Royal Air Force, the RCAF, who served in Bomber Command, and honestly, I can't say that I've had a greater honor in my life. These wonderful heroes who finally have the sort of tribute that is their due for all of the great things that they did when they were 19, 20, 21-year-old men, sacrificing their youth so that we could live in freedom and we'd have the chance to be here in a place like London and see this. So thank you to our vets. Thank you to all those who made this project happen, and thank you to my home department, Veterans Affairs, for allowing me the opportunity to come here with these guys.
You're a great guy. You're a great guy. I like you very much.
Well, that's okay, you know.
Yeah, sure.
But we will always protect your reputation.
Thank you. It was fantastic. Thank God. I met you. Thank God.
Oh, it's okay. You know, we'll make sure that these guys are always remembered. And remember, Halifax is there, man. Okay?
Let's remember my group. Halifax remember. And I got a member.
Yeah.
Oh yes. But you're so wonderful.
Well, thank you very much, and that's what every good Canadian should do, is remember their fighting guys. And there were no better than the men, les hommes de Halifax.
I will have your picture best place in the house.
Bless you.
Thank you, sir.
Yep, no problem. I got you covered. I got you covered.
Thank you very much.
Will you help me put this? We'll put this up together.
Okay.
In memory. Okay.
Okay.
That's for all the guys. Okay. Yep. Okay. Nice to meet you.
Pleasure is mine.
Yep.
How you been doing now?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well.
What do you think of the monument?
Yeah, I'll be right back.
Outstanding. Absolutely outstanding.
It's about time, eh?
I just said to that English lady there, I said, after all these years for us guys to come back and be honored with something like this, it's just unbelievable. It's just...
You're making me cry.
He would live in a time when the sky was filled with light. Then she was born on the shores of an English Dover town. Fell in love till a war suddenly would come between them. In the distance they could hear the big engine sound. Follow me from the Alps to the airfields of the battle. Follow me and I'll tell you story of war. Have you seen her true love as he's lifting off the runway and he was gone by the light of an October moon? Many men from afar would come here to help a nation fighting on through the darkness. So many nights, bomber boys from a day when their honor was a virtue, from the bravery of men who would stand tall and fight. Follow me from the Alps to the airfields of the battle. Follow me and I'll tell you story of war. Have you seen her true love as he's lifting off the runway and he was gone by the light of an October moon? Follow me from the Alps to the airfields of the battle. Have you seen her true love as he's lifting off the runway and he was gone by the light of an October moon? Follow me from the Alps to the airfields of the battle. Follow me and I'll tell you a story of war. Have you seen her true love as he's lifting off the runway and he was gone by the light of an October moon? Have you seen her true love as he's lifting off the runway and he was gone by the light of an October moon?
Now, let's read the dance. Let's read the dance.